How's your summer going? I've been busy. I've been all over the place here. I got things I got to do around the house. I've been helping other people. It's just like there's no time to get into the railroad stuff here right now. But I wanted to make some time. I got a couple of people that wanted me to go through my layout and kind of explain every building that I have on the layout. So I thought, you know what, now might be a good time to do that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll bring you around the layout. I'll try to explain where I got the building, whether I built it or bought it, or why I've even put it on my layout. So I hope you'll enjoy this. We'll get right to it, and I'll see you on our next one. God bless you all. So this is my home builder's supply company. It's the very first model I bought. It's a plastic model that you glue together. And then the lumber that's in all of this, I built from pieces of wood, scrap wood, model wood, and made my own lumber piles. It came with some plastic lumber piles, but I didn't like the way it looked. There's another good shot of all the lumber that I built in that building there, in that storage building. And there's another one there. I tried to put some guys in there, you know, and I added the light. Every building's got a light so that at night you can see something going on. The lumber you see on that truck, that's lumber piles that I made. And then the windows you see were leftover windows from this kit, because you could build this kit different ways. So I threw the windows on the truck. I mean, they fit. It works. They're N-scale windows. So that's the lumber company, the Home and Builders. And then behind that, I have a logging area where they're, you know, cutting down some trees. This is at the edge of the layout. So it kind of starts right here. I have areas that I can continue along there, but I don't want to put a lot of trees on the edge of a layout. So this is in the back where the backdrop is. So that's kind of okay for me to put the trees there. So I got a crew there that's cutting down the trees, and I got a logging truck. And that's my area on that. You know, I did a video on some of the illusions I do. Right in here is a road. You'll see in it. This kind of goes into the backdrop there. And from this angle, you can see it. But it does look like it's kind of, you know, going into the trees before it disappears. So I do all my roads and stuff kind of in that manner. Right there. That's the sawmill. And that's also a plastic kit that I made. And I did my own coloring on it. And installed a couple of lights and did a few things on it. Now here, this is my interpretation of a conveyor belt. You know, conveyor with some logs going in to be sawed in the sawmill. Out in front, you'll see a little man right in here. He's cutting up some logs and scraps and that sort of thing. And then there's a fellow up on the top floor, and he's got some lumber up there, and he's just going through and measuring lumber. And there's probably, you know, pretty empty now. They probably had some loads go out from the rail yard. So that's kind of what I got going in there. I'll see if I can get a shot of that saw that's back in there. Okay, this is kind of a close-up here. You can see the saw back there. There's actually a man back in there somewhere too. I don't know if you can see them in the video or not. Well, here's another view. And all these log piles that you see out in front, I took those yards. Those are sticks from in my yard. And I gathered up the sticks, and then I brought them in the house, and I cut them to the proper lengths. And I put them on a pan and put them in my oven at like 350 degrees for, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, just enough to, if there's any bacterias or something on it, that it would kill it. And I brought them in, and I think that looks a lot better than if I had plastic logs. And then the lumber piles that you see in the back down there, right back in there on the back of the lot there, if the camera will straighten out, those are more piles of lumber that I made. Now this whole area here, you can see, all needs to be done. I do have a storage building back there that has doors for the rail cars and to load for trucks. That church came in a group of buildings that I bought. I bought my Woolworth store, and I got a couple of houses and that church. And the steeple was gone. So I kind of built my own steeple and put it on there. I'm not quite finished with it. And, it works for my church, but I really would rather have one that had some lights. So that might be replaced yet. And I wanted to put some buildings on the corners. I want to put something in this area and something on this area that's small, like a hot dog stand or something. So we'll see what happens. So if we look down this way, gotta adjust my camera a little bit. There we go. Right across from the sawmill is a log cabin. And that I bought already has the lights in it and everything. But, it looked kind of naked. So I put some people on it. And I think it looks much better with the people sitting around, they're just kind of hanging out. Now you can see several areas. There's an area over here that I don't know what I'm going to put in there yet. This isn't finished over in here either. Neither is the sides of the roads. But this is my REA terminal. So, Railway Express Agency, and there's a sign flashing. This is actually a two-sided sign, but when I put it in, I don't know, the other sign goes dead. I've already used two signs on the other side and they go dead, so I'm just going to leave the one on the other side the way it is. And this one flashes, but when it flashes, you can hardly read what it says. It's a red sign with white lettering, and somehow it gets lost when this camera. It's a real bright sign when you look at it, but when you see it in the camera, it's like faded. And that's my terminal right in there. So that's kind of what that looks like. And this is another kit that I built, plastic, and painted it my colors. Tried to weather the roof and that. I have a light in here. I have a light in here, and I have a light on each overhang. And then I put a scene inside, and I'll try and show you that. Okay, so that's the building with the cars moved out of the way. And if I move along, you'll see there's a fellow there. There's some crates and barrels there in the doorway. And if I get over this next one, there's some crates in that doorway as well. And there are some in the next door, but you're not probably going to be able to see them. It's a little darker. But there's a guy out there working on a forklift, and another one there moving some boxes along. Okay, this is Foxy's nightclub. I have some people in that building as well. And there is a bandstand to the right. The Foxy's building was a building I saw for a few dollars. And you know, I thought, well, I'll buy it, and I repurposed the building and fixed it up the way I wanted to. And then I made the band shell out of scraps. Now that yellow house, you see, I just set that there. I'm not sure where I'm going to put that yet. I mean, it could wind up there. I could move it. I'm just not sure. But the scene behind it is what I call the Clevelands. Yeah, that's my daughter's family. They go out bike riding. They're very active, so I thought I'd build a little place for them. This is another one of those buildings that I bought that was already made, and picked up some different things for it. Put a scene there with their bicycles as if they were going on a bike ride in a park, and they're like at a little rest area in the park. And that's what that's all about. Okay, so what you're seeing here is my rail yard. There's a revival going on here. There's a fishing pier over here in the background, a country store. This is a model I built of the covered bridge in Zumbrota, Minnesota. And once you get across that bridge and go down that road and follow it up the hill, and you go into the back of the layout, and that's like my state park area. So I'll try to zoom in on this revival a little bit from here. And I have videos of all of these on my YouTube channel. So if you wanted to go back and find one of these where I'll show you everything about it, even how I built them. This is scratch built. I built this just out of things I had. Asked my wife for a piece of material so I could make the tent. Then I made the piles of hay. Those are bales. This is a 1950s layout, so you wouldn't have seen the big round bales of hay that you see in the farm buildings and farm yards today. Back then you would have saw these kind of rectangular shapes. They were like about, I don't know, 16 or 18 inches wide by maybe 3.5 feet long, something like that. I don't know, but that's what those are, and that's what I made. And then I bought a kit for let me get this right. I bought a kit for the Zumbrota Bridge, but it didn't have any sides on it. So I did make the sides for it, and I do have a video how I did that if you're interested. And then back over here is my general store. Well, there's a better view of my fishing building, and there's my general store. Okay, this is probably up front, about where the water tower starts, all the way down to where you see the McDonald's. That's Heartland. I have two towns here. That's Heartland. And in the back, right back there, on the other side of the tracks, that's White Rock. And there's a town here close to where I live, White Rock, but all it has is a bank, and this has much more than the bank. I just like the name of it, so that's why I put it in there. So the buildings you see back there, the first one is another building, a repurposed one. I made that into a little hotel. There's a train station that the train's hiding right now, and in the back, those are like stick-on buildings, just to kind of give some depth back there. And there's a grocery store there, gas station. That's my diner. That's a railroad car I purchased, and I did a little work to it. Put a rock foundation underneath it, and the light's too bright now, but there's tables and people inside that building. And then that fades out to another just thin building that's sitting there against the backdrop to give it some depth. And then the road goes down towards the farm. And that's where I have my tornado. So this is another rail car that I bought. And I repurposed that so that the hobo's got a place to live. And that's my hobo camp. And then the rail splits here, comes out this way. And it winds up going into my coal yard. That's my coal yard down there. The water tower I bought with the flashing light, and the coal yard was a plastic building that I put together, and then the rails over the coal yard, that was like a plastic model, and I had to cut the legs on it and everything to make it fit for the end scale, make it look right. So I bought the water tower. That actually, the water spout goes up and down and it makes noise and really adds into my steam locomotive when I run it around. And then the hardware store and the Italian restaurant, that's hardware stores on the left, Italian restaurants on the right. Those were pre-made buildings I bought. And the one in the center is a used building I bought, and then I repurposed it. And that's my mission. And then I put benches in there with people, and you can see them. So this is my depot, and I'm not finished with that. This was a plastic kit. This is a plastic kit I put together. I'm in the process of weathering it. This is going to have seats inside, lights, and people. And this is going to have some storage, some things inside. So that's not even fastened down yet because I have to be able to move it to work on things that's behind. So this will be a while before I really get to it. This building over here is my Woolworths. That's the building I was talking about. I got the church and I got 4 or 5 houses with it. I was actually bought a sign and I put the sign on the front of the building. Why Woolworths? I remember Woolworths as a kid. We used to go there, sit inside and have lunch. Really cool place. And next to it, this is actually my latest project. This was the hotel. I did this building through the winter. Every light that you see on in there has a roomette inside. And then I built beds and put the beds in there and then people to give it some life. And the latest thing I'm working on right now is the park that's going to be between the Italian restaurant and that. I'm going to have a park scene. So I'm working on that. It's a slow go right now. That fire station I bought, that was already pre-made, and I bought it used, so I got a pretty good price on that one, and it was in real good shape. This one here is the town hall. I bought this. It's a pre-made building, already had the lights in it. And then I bought the flag, and the flag has a light down in here, and I have videos of how I put that all together for the landscape. This brown building that you see here, I haven't decided what to put in there yet. Oh, I'm leaning towards Salvation Army. I got that building with the building that I told you I purchased and repurposed for the mission. And then there's the IGA. That also is a building that was already made that I purchased. I just liked the way it all looked. But I installed a light for the IGA sign because it looked too dark at night. So you can see there's a whole area here that's unfinished. Goes back down into the farm. Yeah. I call this my McNamara farm. That's right. I have a good friend, and and friends through my living history, and they own a farm. This farm is actually modeled after a farm I would have if I had a farm, but I call it the McNamara farm. And the house was a plastic kit that I built, and so was that little chicken coop back there. And then the barn was already built, but I didn't like the way it looked, so I did my own painting on the silo and added some weathering, and I think it looks a lot better than when I bought it. Then I bought the windmill, because you got to have a windmill on a farm. So this is actually my McDonald's, and I'm not going to tell you a lot about it. I did make a video of it when I first bought it. That was the first model I bought for the layout. I didn't even have the layout made, and I bought it because I'm a McDonald's freak. So I'll tell you that story probably in the next video you see, because I'll show you what that McDonald's building really was and what I did to it in order to get it on the layout. I'll have that video coming up, and I'll have the one on the park that I'm doing, between the Italian restaurant and the hotel. That one's I'm working on also. So that's the end of the tour.